What is up, EAP members? So today we're going to talk about the 3XT trading system. So this system is areas in the market called OTZs. OTZ stands for optimal trading zones, and these are zones in the market with a high likelihood of seeing a bounce of around 100 pips at these zones. So today you're going to learn exactly how to point out each of these zones, how to find these zones in your own personal trading, and hopefully help you build a trading plan around them. Just as we discussed in the transition course, you can build a trading plan in the same way around these OTZs, the 3XT, which stands for 3 times tested levels of structure. And this is going to be the way we use the advanced entry reasons from the advanced phase, such as the double top, double bottom engulfing entry. That's going to be one of the entries we use in these zones. And of course, as always, it's extremely important that you test these yourselves. Don't just take my word for it. Test it, optimize it on the best pairs. Do everything you know how to do at this point in your trading since you've been through the EAP training program. Make sure you're doing all of that. But in these zones is where we're going to use these advanced entry reasons, such as the double top engulfing candle, the double bottom engulfing candle. These are also great places to look for our reversal trading strategies. So combining the trading strategies you've learned here in the advanced phase with the 3XT OTZ, which stands for, again, 3 times tested optimal trading zone is what OTZ stands for. So combining things such as the overbought, oversold strategies that we've learned here in the advanced phase, combining that with this can make for highly accurate trading situations as well, combining that with what you're going to learn in the video today. So first off, before we even begin, if you have found that the EAP training program helped you in your trading, then I would be ever so grateful if you'd head over to YouTube under one of our recent YouTube videos and leave us a comment talking a little bit about your experience. That would be a huge help to us. And also, at any point that you have any questions about any of the training that you've received here, feel free to email me at steven@thetradingchannel.net. And with that said, we are going to dive into today's training where you're going to learn exactly how to point out the most optimal trading zones for the advanced phase entries that we have here in the EAP. Let's jump into the training. But today we're going to talk about what I call 3XT. And let's go up to a blank chart. Let's delete everything off of this. We'll go up to a blank chart, go ahead and begin today's training. What is 3XT? 3XT just stands for the fact that we're looking for a level of structure that's been tested at least 3 times. So what would that look like on a chart? Probably something like this. Right in here would be the level that's tested more than 3 times. We have 1, 2, this would be 3, and a possible 4 here for resistance. Now at that level is going to be an OTZ zone that looks something like this. We're going to go over this in much more detail down on the charts, guys. But here would be the OTZ. That's where we would be looking for market to get to, and then some type of order to be placed in based on some type of entry reason, whatever entry reason you decide to use and test in your own personal trading plan. So with that being the case, hopefully you've got an idea of what OTZs that we're looking at today are, the 3XT OTZ. And for that reason, we're going to go ahead and head down to the chart. I think it's going to be a lot easier to explain this specific OTZ on charts. So let's go ahead and take a look. And what we're going to do for OTZs, these are the 3X OTZs. Most of the time are like counter trend opportunities. They're counter trend zones a majority of the time. You will get lucky every now and then and have them in trend continuation. But what I do is I scroll back my chart 2 years. So if you look down here, you will see we have 2019 back to 2017. And it doesn't have to be an exact science, guys. I just go about 2 years back. Once I have the chart scrolled about 2 years back, I always put a horizontal line wherever price action is. So right now, currently, we're at 0.6839 on the New Zealand dollar, which is the chart we're on. I'll go ahead and put a horizontal line right there. Why am I doing this? Well, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to know where price action is in relation to where I'm going to draw out my OTZs, my other optimal trading zones with this 3XT. We already have our first way of doing this, which is more so trend continuation, which we studied in the last video. Again, this is more of a counter trend OTZ type zone. So what are we looking for the counter trend 3XT OTZ zones? And again, they can be used for trend continuation. It's just very rare that it happens that way. Well, on these specific scenarios, after we have price pointed out and we have 2 years of data that we're looking at from 2019 back to 2017, once we have that, what we're looking for is the most recent level of structure above and below price action. What I'm going to do, and what I always do, is point out 2 levels, 2 OTZs, 2 optimal trading zones above where price action is, and 2 optimal trading zones below. And what I'm looking at to do this is the most recent. Let's do above first. We're going to go 2 levels above price action. So if I'm looking to trade 2 OTZs, 2 levels above price action, I'm looking at my most recent level of resistance looking left from exactly where price action is right now. So price action right here, right now, if we were to move up from where the price action is right now, what's the first level of resistance we would hit? This right here, right? I'm looking for that most recent level. Now, once I see that most recent level, I'm going to drop a horizontal line right at that level. I'll color the ones above red for resistance. So once I drop that horizontal line in, what's my purpose for doing that? What's the purpose for dropping in this horizontal line? Well, I'm checking to see, because I know something called the recency bias in trading and in human psychology, is that levels of structure that are more recent are more likely to be paid attention to by other traders in the market. So I know that if I'm looking for optimal trading zones, I would love for those zones to be around the most recent level of structure resistance, which is right here. So whenever I pop that horizontal line on the screen and I have 2 years of data to look at, what it's showing me is whether or not we have 3 times that this level has been tested and reacted from this level of structure. Okay, so now that I have my most recent level pointed out, I have my horizontal line on that level, all I ask myself is, okay, considering my rules for 3XT optimal trading zone, OTZ, do I have my rules met? Well, I know that first level that I just looked at was my first resistance level, so that's 1. I have another level right here that pushed the market down pretty dramatically, that's 2. If we look left a little further, we can see that resistance was found right here, that's 3. If we keep looking left, there's more resistance here, that's 4. Here, support, that's 5. I only needed 3. So what that means is my red line is 0.6935 going to be an OTZ for me? Yes, this is my first OTZ above where price action is right now. What this means is I'm going to create an OTZ, optimal trading zone, around this level right here. And if the New Zealand dollar pushes up and continues higher, this zone is where I will look for counter trend shorting opportunities on smaller time frames. Let's say the 4-hour or 1-hour charts using any specific entry reason that you use. Again, guys, these areas are great areas to be looking for those advanced entry reasons, such as the double top, double bottom engulfing candle. In this situation, it would be the double top engulfing kicker, as well as areas we can look for those reversal trading strategies in the overbought and oversold RSI area. So keep that in mind. That should be the first things you test in these optimal trading zones, because that's what I'm telling you works best. Don't go out and just trade it blindly. Again, follow the rules for creating your own trading plan around this specific system. That is going to be one of my OTZs. I now have my first level pointed out. What's my next step? My next step is to keep looking left. And if price action, let's say, this is how I do this, and this is what keeps it clear for me. If price action, I go ahead and draw my line, was to break that level of resistance. Let's say price action is now at 0.7 right here. This is price action. Well, if this is price action at 0.7, what's my most recent level of resistance if that was the case? Well, if that was the case and price action was right here at our black line, the most recent level of structure resistance is right here, right? So if price action gets up past 0.6935, where's the next OTZ I'm going to look at? Well, I need to draw my horizontal line first, but I know this is my most recent area, so I'll draw my horizontal line there, and I'll say, okay, well, is this a level that's been tested multiple times? Can I call this a 3XT OTZ? Does it meet my rules? It needs to be tested at least 3 times in historical data and reacted to from the market. Well, if we look here, we know it was most recently tested, so that equals number 1. Right here, it acted as support. That's number 2. Right here as resistance, that's number 3. Right here, it acted as resistance again, it's number 4. Remember, all we need is 3. So this is definitely going to be my next optimal trading zone for the New Zealand dollar. So now I know, and I hope you're starting to understand the benefit to this is that now we are preparing for any market situation. We're going to point out 2 levels of structure support as well using OTZ, the 3XT method, and doing so is going to prepare you for whether or not the New Zealand dollar goes up or goes down. either direction, you're going to have zones that you know you can look for potential trading opportunities in. Again, the importance of backtesting and creating a strategy around all this is immense. If you don't do that part, these levels will not help you nearly as much as they will if you go and actually test using this exact information and adding your own entry reason to it with your own stop and target placement, with your own risk management plan. If you go through that process, your success is almost inevitable. But if you decide not to, then your success is going to be just as random as you going to a casino and trying to gamble. So remember to put in the work. But this is definitely going to be our two optimal trading zones, our two 3XT zones for the New Zealand dollar moving forward. We have 0.6935, we have 0.7054, and that's exactly how we're pointing them out. Now that we know our actual resistance zones, what did I say earlier? Remember, we're going to be pointing out resistance and support zones above and below. So if we're taking that same process, we know right where the market is right here. We're looking for the most recent level of support, and you can zoom in for this. You don't have to keep your chart 2 years out. You know you want to be 2 years out when looking for structure, but if you need to zoom in and go, okay, price action is right here. What's the most recent level of support? It's very easy. Right here, that's the most recent level the market was supported and pushed up. So since the market was most recently supported there, I'm going to take same situation. I'm going to drop a horizontal line there. I'm going to color it blue because blue is going to stand for support. I could color it green, but the green is like a weird color that I really don't like. So I'm going to go with blue. Makes it easier to see. Then we can zoom back out. We can zoom out to our 2-year mark, looking for 2017. Found it. Now that we have 2017, we have our most recent level of support pointed out that we did down on when we zoomed in, which was right here. That counts as 1. Remember, now we're just looking to see if this level meets our rules. Another scenario is that this level doesn't meet our rules, is that we look 2 years in the past and this level does not meet the rules for a 3XT. It doesn't have 3 different times where support was tested or resistance was tested and the market reacted from it. If that's the case, it's not a 3XT and we delete the horizontal line. And then we keep looking further down. So if this ended up not being an OTZ or a 3XT OTZ, then we would just move down to the next level of support. We would look left and go, did it get tested 3 times, right? So hopefully you're understanding that. But yes, here we have 1, 2, 3. Right here support, and right here was resistance. So this would have been 4, this would have been 5, this would have been 6. We had plenty of times the market tested 0.6725. Therefore, this would be our first OTZ when it comes to support here on the New Zealand dollar. That would be our first 3x OTZ. Again, these levels are for more so counter trend trading. So on a lower time frame, what we would see is this market start continuing down, and this is where we would start looking for some kind of counter trend pop. Something important to note is that in these counter trend pops, these 3x OTZs, I don't look for more than about 100 pips out of these zones. Now, I do trade multiple targets, and I will sometimes get way more than 100 pips out of these zones, but the more likely scenario is that these zones push the market around by about 80 to 100 pips each time it hits them. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that if the market, let's say, pushes up to this level of resistance, I'm not exactly expecting it just to go down and go into trend continuation, breaking through the most recent lows. That's not what I'm expecting. What I'm expecting is a counter trend bounce from this level before a continuation of the trend on a smaller time frame. Instead, let's talk about the next level of support. Right now we have our 0.6725 level on the New Zealand dollar. Next up, what are we going to do? The same exact thing, guys. We're going to take a horizontal line. We're going to go down to our next most recent level of structure support, which is right here. Remember how we're doing this. We're waiting to see, or we're assuming the market pushes down past that level. If we push down past that level, we're going to look left and go, okay, well, once we push down past that level, what's the most recent level of support? It's right here. Now that we have our horizontal line placed, is this a level that was tested 3 times? Well, we can maneuver this line for the amount between the wick and the bodies. So this entire amount of the candle can be kind of manipulated or moved around. What I mean by that is if I need to take this line and push it down to, let's say, here, then that's totally fine, because that is still touching the wick of that low, or the wick of that candle, excuse me. And with that being the case, it's still in my OTZ area. So here, do we have a level that meets the criteria for a 3XT OTZ? Hopefully you were able to answer yes. We have 1 test of support here. We have 2 a test of resistance here, and we have 3, a test of support right here as the market broke above it, came down, and then pushed back up. So with that being the case, now we have 2 levels above where price action is sitting, 2 levels below where price action is sitting that we know are our 3XT OTZ zones. So we're waiting on the market to get to these levels, and in these areas is exactly where we're going to be looking for the double bottom, double top, engulfing kicker entry pattern on the advanced phase of the EAP, along with the aggressive entry. This is exactly how I look for aggressive entries as well on like a 4-hour time frame. I don't go any lower than 4 hour on the aggressive entry. For the double top and double bottom engulfing kicker, I'll go down all the way to the 1-hour chart, sometimes even the 15-minute chart if I feel like day trading as well. Again, make sure to do your own testing. Don't just take my word for all of this. I am trustworthy, but you want to go do your own testing for all the reasons we've talked about in the AP training program. If you've made it this far in the course, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. So those are things to keep in mind. Let's see what else. So for stops and targets on these, I normally just use a 1 ATR stop, solid 1 ATR stop. If the ATR is 25 and I get a double top or a double bottom engulfing kicker, then I'll use 25. Now, one more thing to point out, there is one time that this rule of having to go back 2 years of data when you're looking for your candlesticks and looking for structure is actually can be broken, I guess you could say, and that's when the market is making brand new 2-year lows. So if the market goes below the lowest low over the past 2 years, then we really have no other choice but to look back even further, and that's exactly what we can do. So now you have everything you need in order to point out these 3XT OTZ zones. I hope this has been beneficial. This is exactly how I point out optimal trading zones for counter trend trades using the 3 entries we've talked about in this video. Make sure to do your own testing on all of that. Again, if you have found this to be extremely helpful, if you found the EAP in general to be helpful for your trading, then we would love to hear more about that over on our YouTube channel. Feel free to comment under one of our latest YouTube videos with a brief comment about your experience so far. Again, we would love to hear about that, and any questions you have, again, just send them to steven@thetradingchannel.net. I'd be glad to answer them. So that's going to do it for today's video. I wish you the best of luck in all your future trades, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.